so good, so good, so right. Together, you and ITV.
10 o'clock. Prime time news. From around the world and here at home.
The Premier sets November 2nd as the election date. Among the issues, the Trust Fund. The first Canadian ever reaches the summit of Mount Everest. The Swedes may have another Soviet sub trapped in the waters near Stockholm. Lance Brown reports on baseball playoffs, and Bill predicts cloudy weather.
ITV News. 10 o'clock edition with Barbara Kelly and Doug Main.
Good evening. Some positive signs at the summit. The meetings may be extended a third day. Colombian relief efforts gather strength today. PWA is about to be hit by a strike. And the Oilers pull off a third period miracle comeback. Good evening. It was a busy day in Geneva.
Canada is sending aid to victims of the Soviet earthquake.
Rescuers in the Soviet Union search for survivors in the rubble of another major earthquake. It's down to the last hours for convicted mass murderer Ted Bundy. The murder trial of an Edmonton law professor takes an unusual turn, and the Oilers and Rangers fight it out in the third period.
Good evening. Another major earthquake has struck the Soviet Union, the second in less than 2 months. Good evening. There's been a break in the search for a missing hunter north of Edmonton. RCMP have discovered some tracks they think belong to Benoit Gagné. The search for a missing hunter is expanded. Judgment Day in North Carolina for Jim Baker. And a look at the world's largest band built here in Edmonton.
ITV News with Leslie McDonald and Ross McLaughlin.
Good evening. Leslie is off tonight.
Tonight on Sports Night, Gord Stellick has told Harold Ballard, "I quit." Ryan Sandberg and the Cubs are making it tough on the Expos. Scores and highlights from both leagues. Little League Championship opens on the weekend in Edmonton. We'll have a preview. The PGA Golf Championship continue today near Chicago. And of course, being Friday night, the plays of the week. Tonight on Sports Night. And good evening. Darren is on assignment in Disneyland.
Live from Edmonton, ITV News at 10. With Gordon Steinke and Leslie McDonald. With sports, Barry Solkowski and Bill Matheson with weather.
The fate of Edmonton sex therapist Nasir Fakia is on hold tonight. Good evening. No verdict yet in the Nasir Fakia sexual assault trial.
Live from the ITV Newsroom.
Good afternoon, I'm Jacqueline Clark. So who won the leadership debate? Well, it depends who you talk to.
Live from the ITV Newsroom, this is an ITV News Update.
Good afternoon, I'm Jacqueline Clark. Well, the Klein government has cut the salaries of its non-unionized workers by 5%. Live from Edmonton, this is ITV News at 10 for Thursday, October 14th. Tonight's top story, what's in store for the Edmonton Oilers? We'll have an exclusive interview with team owner Peter Pocklington. Also, the city's budget is out. It calls for some service cuts, but no new taxes. Plus, violence on Brazil's beaches is scaring away tourists. And in sports, the Oilers end their road trip in Los Angeles.
Now, ITV News at 10.
Good evening. Peter Pocklington is renewing threats to take his hockey team and hit the road.
You're looking live at Edmonton on a Tuesday night. Coming up tonight at 10 on ITV News, it's been a year since Edmonton made the move to go with one airport. We'll take a look at how that's affected the international and business in the area.
This is ITV, where Edmonton's news comes first.
It's Tuesday, February 13th. Tonight's top story.
Freezing healthcare premiums for all Albertans at current levels.
Albertans get a taste of what's to come from the provincial government. Then, a tearful search for a missing Redwater woman. And what's the real meaning behind Valentine's Day?
Now, ITV News at 6.
Good evening.
This is ITV, where Edmonton's news comes first.
It's Monday, March the 18th. Tonight's top story. Some local bars make late-night profits off the World Figure Skating Championship.
Now, ITV News at 10.
Good evening. The international spotlight is shining on Edmonton tonight.
Tonight on Sports Night, we have the inside edge as the ladies qualify for the World Figure Skating Championships. Gretzky returns to La La Land. Rodman's rampage costs some cash, and guess who's coming to dinner? Sports Night is next.
Good evening, all. Welcome to the show. I'm Ron Rimmer.
And I'm Perry Solkowski. Sure, there's hockey and basketball.
Tonight's top story. A new twist in the tragic death of Princess Diana. Was it murder? Our night watch crew is the latest on a body discovered in Sherwood Park. New Age nudists flock to the Nevada desert for an unusual ceremony. And we'll take you to a wacky underwater wedding.
Now, ITV News.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for our first ITV News at 11 show.
News you count on. ITV News at 11 with Linda Steele, Gord Steinke, and Jeff Little on Night Watch.
Tonight on Sports Night, it came down to penalty kicks between England and Argentina. Will Dudley do right in Ottawa? The Trappers try to make it 15 wins and 16 tries. We preview the 98 Canadian Football League season. All that coming your way tonight on Sports Night.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of Sports Night. I'm Mike English. The World Cup coming up, the Canadian Football League coming up, as well as some news from the NHL.
Our city, our news. ITV Live at 5:30 with Leslie McDonald and the weather with meteorologist Claire Martin.
Today on ITV Live at 5:30, farewell to a legend. We'll hear from Bill Matheson about his last day at the Weather Board.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Well, it's
Tonight's top story, it's the end of an era in Edmonton. Bill Matheson is retiring. Tonight, you'll see Bill's farewell forecast, and we'll also look back at his amazing career in broadcasting. And had to be you. A tribute to Bill you won't want to miss.
Now, ITV News at 6.
Good evening and welcome to a very special edition of ITV News at 6.
Tonight we're saying goodbye and good luck to one of ours. The Dean of Weather, Bill Matheson, is retiring, and we have a lot of surprises in store tonight.
Tonight on Global News at 6, suspicious death. Firefighters were called to a dumpster early this morning only to find a body in the blaze.
Global News starts right now.
Today on Global News Morning Edition, a convicted sex offender is set to be released, but he's no longer coming to our city.
And today's the big day. All eyes are on Edmonton as the World Championships in athletics get off to a running start.
And the royal treatment, Edmonton welcomes the Earl and Countess of Wessex.
Global News Morning Edition with Shay Gannam and Andrea Engel.
You're not Andrea.
What am I doing here?
Wow, you've changed.
Yes.
Global News starts right now.
Tonight, the world's dream comes true for Edmonton. A sellout crowd welcomes the greatest athletes on earth. Plus, the royal couple joined billions of viewers around the world to watch the games. Then, disturbing discovery.
Big shot, you know. Big shot? Yeah, of course.
The burning body of a young woman is found in a dumpster. So you think you have a green thumb? Well, you'll find out how you measure up to this award-winning yard.
Now, Global News at 11 with Linda Steele and Gord Steinke.
Good evening, Edmonton. Welcome the world tonight. Good evening. It's quickly becoming the new wave in the radio world.
Global News Morning Edition starts right now.
Today on Global News Morning Edition, a disturbing discovery city police are investigating after 2 bodies were found in the city's north end.
And deadly drama. 3 people are dead after a hostage-taking in Kamloops, BC.
Plus, the curse continues. The Oilers fall to the stars in Texas.
Global News Morning Edition with Shay Gannon, Rian Hurlbert, and Mike Sobel.
Good morning, 6 a.m.
Global News Morning Edition starts right now.
Today on Morning Edition, Registry Revolt. Edmonton's police chief speaks out about the new Firearms Act.
Global News Morning Edition with Rian Hurlbert and Kevin O'Connell.
Good morning. Saturday morning.
Just what we like to hear. Everything's on the rise.
Top stories right now.
Today, under fire, a suspected car thief takes aim at a city police officer.
Now, Edmonton's Global News at 5 with Linda Steele.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on our very first Global News at 5 show.
Edmonton's Global News starts right now.
Today on Edmonton's Global News at 5:30, warm reception in Canada's north.
Global News at 5:30 with Leslie McDonald.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us.
Public Library branch may fall under the Budget Acts. Chief Bob's on the way out, so the Police Commission launches a search for a new top cop. And challenging Canada's gun control laws.
The Firearms Act, as far as I'm concerned, has no teeth.
He took a rifle to the legislature to protest gun control, and today he faced an Edmonton judge.
Now, Edmonton's Global News at 6 with Gord Steinke and Linda Steele.
Good evening. Edmonton's controversial bills for spills policy is under.
Edmonton's Global News starts right now.
Tonight on Edmonton's Global News, flight fears. The SARS scare prompts a Toronto travel advisory. How will that affect Edmonton's airline industry?
Now, Edmonton's Global News at 11 with Linda Steele and Gord Steinke.
Good evening. A decision by the World Health Organization today could have a catastrophic effect on Edmonton's international airport.
Tonight on Global Sports, pinched out. Doug Peterson gone for the season because of a bad back. Power outage. The Oilers need to improve on their power play to increase their offense. Day 1 of the Ryder Cup has a European flavor. And our Athlete of the Week calls quick the signals for the Edmonton Seahawks. Global Sports next.
Good evening. The weekend is here, so let's tear up the old P-Patch Click. We're in a Schnell and...
Good evening. Police are investigating an early morning shooting in Mill Woods after residents were awoken to the sounds of gunfire. We'll have the details tonight on News Final.
Today on the Morning News.
A grieving community. 4 people are dead after a Cessna crashes in northern Alberta. Plus, a fatal collision. Dozens have died. More than 100 injured following a train crash in Egypt. And back in the USA, Jean-Benet Ramsey's alleged killer arrives in LA after a first-class flight from Thailand.
Now from Global Edmonton, the Morning News with
with Andrea Engel, Shay Gannam, and Mike Sobel.
Good morning.
Good morning. Monday morning.
27th, you're looking at a live shot of the Alberta Legislature tonight from our Global One News helicopter.
Today on the early news.
Chase aftermath.
He sustained serious injuries. He was not wearing his seatbelt.
The driver of a truck allegedly fleeing RCMP is sent to hospital after an ETS bus is rammed in.
Now from Global Edmonton, the early news with Linda Steele.
Good afternoon. For the second time this month, the police. You're looking at a live shot of Edmonton from our Global One News helicopter. It is Wednesday, June 18th.
Tonight on the News Hour.
Mother Nature's fury.
The line on the wall, they've just told me that due to sewer backup that they have to remove the first 2 feet of my walls and all of my floors.
24 hours after yesterday's wild weather, the cleanup is on. Will insurance cover all the damage? Should it be scrapped? Find out how much money our city could make from getting rid of the city center airport. It's official. An Edmonton billionaire has finally received what he wanted, the Oilers. And
he had the help of probably one of the best restorers in Western Canada.
A heavenly and historic piece of real estate is now open in Morinville after a multi-million-dollar makeover.
Now from Global Edmonton, the News Hour with Gord Steinke and Linda Steele.
Good evening. The big cleanup is underway after last night's wicked storm.
Tonight on News Hour Final.
On the run, troubled teens run away from a place that's supposed to help them, and that has nearby residents on edge.
Now from Global Edmonton, News Hour Final with Jaylyn Nye.
Good evening. There is concern tonight over the safety of troubled teens living at a rural group home east of the city.
Tonight on News Final.
Canadians killed. 4 soldiers are dead after heavy fighting with Taliban insurgents.
Now from Global Edmonton, News Final with Carolyn Jarvis.
Good evening. 4 more Canadian soldiers were killed today in one of the bloodiest battles for Canadian forces since 2002.
It's Monday, November 15th, and you're looking at a live shot of the river from our Global One News helicopter. Here's a look at some of the stories we're working on this morning. The aftermath of a deadly explosion in Edmonton. Grandmother and a father and son from Drumheller are among 5 Canadians killed at a hotel in Playa del Carmen. A fatal car crash. RCMP are investigating the cause of a terrible crash east of Calgary that killed 3 people and seriously injured 1. And a vicious attack. A 27-year-old man is in critical condition after a violent beating left him with serious head injuries.
Well, today should be an interesting day. It's kind of a transitional day. We had temperatures above normal for the weekend. We have temperatures expected to be about 4 degrees today, which of course is well above normal. But then things are about to change. I'll have your full forecast in just a few minutes.
And unfortunately, there is plenty of action out on our city streets, and it's not the good kind. So I will have all of your collision details coming up shortly.
Now from Global Edmonton, the morning news with Shay Gannam and Jennifer Crosby.
Good morning. 8:01 now as we take a look at the day's news headlines. And an Edmonton area grandmother is among 5 Canadians killed in an explosion at a Mexican resort this weekend.
Live from Global Edmonton, the morning news continues. Here are Shay Gannam and Jennifer Crosby.
Premier Alison Redford took to the airwaves last night to warn Albertans of tough fiscal times ahead.
50 grade 3 students from Grandin School helped Sparky the fire dog celebrate a very special birthday.
It's Monday, November 15th. You're looking live at the Global Edmonton studios. We are unveiling a brand new look tonight, becoming the first station in the city to broadcast in high definition.
Tonight on the News Hour.
Holiday horror story.
Quite tragic. We were a very close family.
An Edmonton area grandmother is among 5 Canadians killed in an explosion in Mexico, making a difference.
So a significant reduction from our count 2 years previous.
New numbers show that there are fewer homeless people living on our city streets. And is our healthcare system in crisis?
I'd rather be home in bed.
In a special series, we'll take you inside an emergency room to see the problems of long wait times and bed shortages firsthand.
Now from Global Edmonton, the News Hour with Gord Steinke and Linda Steele.
Good evening. A tropical vacation turned into a nightmare for hundreds of Canadians on Sunday. All of it caught on camera in exclusive video Global News has obtained.
Tonight on News Hour Final.
5 minutes before the explosion, I was standing right there.
A vacation that started out celebrating a wedding ends with planning funerals.
Now from Global Edmonton, News Hour Final with Christina Salvo.
Good evening. We begin tonight with exclusive video captured moments after a deadly hotel explosion in Mexico yesterday.
You're watching Morning News on Global Edmonton.
Well, it is a growing problem in our province. There are more than 4 preventable injury deaths every day.
Now, from Global Edmonton, the early news with Gord Steinke.
Good afternoon. We begin with some breaking news. Global News has just learned 2 members of the Edmonton Police Service are facing charges. Gallery of Alberta from our Global One News helicopter. A plan is being devised to one day drop admission to the facility, making it a free attraction. You'll find out why coming up on the News Hour.
Tonight on the News Hour.
Spending concerns. The Alberta School Boards Association might be spending a great deal of taxpayer dollars on staff perks instead of on students.
The expenses that have some asking for an investigation. They fear they'll lose everything.
There was something wrong, and everything pointed to the water.
An Alberta farming family is wondering what's next. A nearby gas plant is jeopardizing their livelihood. In one Alberta town, there is one man who plays this song every single year. The story of what drives him to perform the touching tribute each Remembrance Day.
Now, from Global Edmonton, the News Hour with Gord Steinke and Nancy Carlson.
Good evening. Questions are being raised about spending by the Alberta School Board.
News Hour Final with Quinn Oler.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The excitement, the hope, the anticipation has been building for months now, John, when the Oilers won the draft lottery and selected Connor McDavid first overall.
Good morning. It is Friday, May 27th, and you know what? Just stay in bed. It's socked in, it's dreary out there, and it's Friday anyways. Mike will have your weekend weather forecast. It's not much better. That's coming up in a minute. Here are your headlines this morning. Shaping up to be one of the biggest concerts the city has ever seen. We'll have details on fire aid for Fort McMurray. For the first time since last October's election defeat, Stephen Harper speaks publicly about the future of the Conservative Party. And it's a job that's physically and mentally demanding. It is National Paramedic Services Week. Today, an EMS member is sharing the story of how the job took its toll on her mental health.
Good morning. We've got, Jen called it dreary. It is pretty dreary right now. We'll have some showers on and off throughout the day today. That temperature expected to be around 17 degrees with a southwest wind 5 to 10, gusting when there will be thunderstorms. And there will be some in the region. The weekend gets a little bit better. We'll get to your full forecast coming up soon.
And right now we do have a collision out on the east end of the Anthony Henday as you're traveling northbound at the Sherwood Park Freeway Y Road exit. You may encounter some delays this morning as they look to clear that. The rest of the city moving along quite well. We do have some construction delays and flight delays. I'll have details coming up shortly.
You're watching Global Edmonton. This is Global News Morning.
It is 6:01 as we check headlines, and Commonwealth Stadium will be the place to be June 29th.
Today on Global News Morning.
A Minneapolis police station set on fire as violent demonstrations continue over the death of George Floyd.
You're watching Global Edmonton. This is Global News Morning.
Good morning and welcome to Friday, May 29th. Almost the end of May as we roll into June.
It's just kind of crazy.
Today on Global News at noon.
Some rural municipality of Wood Buffalo councillors will be among the country's highest paid soon. We'll look at the reasons behind some big raises.
You're watching Global Edmonton. This is Global News at noon.
Good afternoon. Councillors for the rural municipality of Wood Buffalo have voted in favor of a big raise.
This is Global News at 5.
Good afternoon. The province is postponing non-urgent surgeries in the Edmonton zone as a way to help ease the strain of COVID-19 in our hospitals. For the second straight day now, the province has recorded more than 400 new cases of the virus.
It's Saturday, March 14th, and you're looking live at Rogers Place from our Global One News helicopter. The Oilers have just announced help for staff suddenly unable to work with the NHL season suspended. More on that ahead. Plot.
Tonight on Global News Hour at 6.
We will be posting the flight information. Flight or portion of a flight where passengers may have been exposed to COVID-19.
Edmonton rec centers are closed, and there are new warnings to travelers as Canadians abroad are told to come home.
I joined Edmonton Police Service Class 57 on November 26, 1979.
A special honor is unveiled for some of Edmonton's policing pioneers. And dig in. Edmontonians mark Pie Day in the most delicious way.
You're watching Global Edmonton. This is Global News Hour at 6.
Good evening. Just minutes ago, all city-operated rec centers closed, including pools and the zoo, due to COVID-19 concerns.
Tonight on Global News at 11.
I mean, it's middle of the day. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was a little shocked.
A dangerous robbery caught on camera, and the business owner and his family found themselves in the middle of the potentially dangerous situation.
You're watching Global Edmonton. This is Global News at 11.
Hi, thanks for joining us. A brazen daylight robbery was not only caught on camera. The owner of the business being robbed was nearly run over by the thief with his wife and kids watching.